Yeah, my name is Brendan Wilson, and I'm a territory sales manager at Rolland Paper. Uh, the mill is located outside of Montreal, but I'm based in the Chicago area. I've been in the paper industry for, I think, about 12 years now. I'm going on my seventh year at Rolland.
How can leaders in the paper trade industry effectively recruit and engage the next generation of talent?
That's a good one. um, it's a question I've gotten a lot and that I've thought about a lot. There's different avenues for recruiting, obviously. Certainly, there are recruiting agencies, there's individuals within our industry who have a lot of experience recruiting. But I think current leaders within the industry need to take advantage of recruiting events at colleges and universities. Definitely, they need to utilize social media platforms, um, not just to post jobs that are available at their companies, but I think one of the gaps is they need to be able to showcase through those social media channels what would make their companies attractive to the younger generation. So that's one of the gaps. I think also current leaders need to look at the younger generation that they already have at their companies and utilize them in recruitment searches. Maybe they have friends or acquaintances that may be interested in our industry based on um, hearing stories about what attracted them to the industry or some things they might like about their jobs. Um, Also, I'd say it depends on what jobs you're looking to fill. I was at a local printer in Chicago recently, and they hosted a group of high school students. I was fortunate enough to talk to this group of students. Some of them were planning on going to four-year universities. Some of them were not. Some of them were planning on going to two-year universities or trade schools. Um, and some were planning on going straight into the job market when graduating high school. They weren't planning on going to college. So I think depending on the needs you have within your company, within our industry, there's going to be opportunities even at the high school level to recruit. Um, Certainly, offering scholarship programs or internships for kids that are planning on going to college is always a good idea. And I've seen some companies have some success going that route as well.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of opportunities that people might not even be aware of. And when kind of when the word gets out there, it sparks some of those cool connections and careers for people in the younger generation. So very
Definitely.
cool. And so tying into that a little bit, in your opinion, what are some key factors that make the paper trade industry attractive to the younger generation?
Attracted to the younger generation. On the surface, there's probably actually not a lot that makes it attractive because when people who are when people who don't know paper think about paper, they often think about copy paper, paper they buy at like Target or Walmart or Office Depot. But there are attractive features for the younger generation. You just have to dig a little deeper to understand how great of an industry it is to be in. Um, I think your question was, what are some of the key factors? I mean, certainly the industry can pay well and you can make a good living in it. So that's always one of the first things I tell prospective high school or college students who may be interested in the industry. They always like to hear that they can make good money and they can make a good living. Uh, but as someone who works for a paper mill and has for my entire time in the industry, the paper making process is actually pretty fascinating. And not to someone who's not in our industry, they may not see that. So what I have to do when explaining how my job is attractive to people who may be interested is I have to go a step further. I get to talk about the great relationships I get to build with not only our paper distributors, but a lot of the printers who print our paper. And I think more importantly, the end users who use our paper. So the Patagonias of the world, Yetis, REI, Filson, the list goes on and on and on. So I've been able to, visit these companies' corporate headquarters, meet a lot of their folks who do the purchasing for paper, and develop relationships with them. And those are relationships that I think will, can go on for a long time, and that I can maintain. So because of the paper we sell to them and the paper they use, it's really, people have to connect the dots and see the full circle, so to speak, to see what the industry can really provide. And I think, always the thing I'm going to tell people, the younger generation that's going to attract them to the industry, is that our industry is generally an older industry. So within the next, I'd say, even maybe as little as 5 years, but definitely 7 to 10 years, there's going to be some tremendous growth opportunities, not just for job openings, but for people to move up within companies, because of the amount of people who are going to be retiring. So I would imagine that would be attractive to the younger generation coming in.
Moving on a little bit, as an emerging leader, what experiences or stories have shaped your own career in the paper trade industry? And also with that, can you share any valuable lessons or insights gained from your journey that could inspire and guide other aspiring leaders?
Okay. Let's see. So definitely starting on the marketing side in this industry gave me an opportunity to learn a lot of the technical side of the industry. This industry we're in is very technical. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to paper making. So just, I would say, in terms of my experience and kind of what shaped my career was being able to start on the marketing side and learn a lot of that, a lot of the technical stuff, learn about how paper was made, learn about different specifications of paper, and then transitioning to the sales side after a handful of years in the industry was kind of what shaped my career in a positive way, because I was able to kind of learn a lot about the industry right away. There's a lot of great things about being on the sales side, but I didn't really have a lot of pressure on me to have to sell early on in my career, so to speak. I was just kind of learning the ropes, and moving over to the sales side and doing a lot of the relationship building. After a handful of years, I think was important, and it's kind of been a good transition for me. And then I think your second question was a valuable lesson I've learned. I would say, I've learned a lot of lessons, but I think one that really sticks out right now in particular is that this industry is a roller coaster. Right when you think when the next turn is coming, it throws you in a loop. So you just need to stick with it, keep your head up, lean on the relationships that you've built throughout your career, and definitely stay positive even when others aren't positive. I'd say that'd be definitely the most valuable lesson I've learned working here for 12 years.
Could you elaborate on the benefits and opportunities provided by the NPTA Emerging Leaders Group? And how has your involvement in this group impacted your professional growth?
Yeah, so this is my second year as part of the group. I would say the number one benefit is absolutely the camaraderie that the group has brought. It's a wonderful group of young leaders within our industry. You have some folks from the manufacturing side. You have a lot of folks on the distribution side. I've developed a lot of great friendships that will last a lifetime, hopefully, from this committee. The industry's changed. There used to be a lot more competition in the industry, I would say. But now, even for us on the committee, who theoretically a lot of us compete in the marketplace, because we're with different companies. But I think there's a sense of togetherness, a sense that we're all on the same team, a sense that we support each other and can lean on each other and come on and come to one another when one of us needs something. So I think that's definitely one of the benefits of the group is even though you may be in direct competition with someone else on the call in the marketplace, it doesn't feel that way because we're kind of all striving for the same thing, and we have that togetherness that I mentioned, and it kind of feels like we're on the same team, and we're kind of growing up in the industry together. Like I said, I've developed some relationships with others and who do work at competitive companies, but we talk all the time, and if we have questions, we can go to one another, which I think is important. And then your follow-up question about how it's impacted my growth, I would just say it's just impacted me in a positive way. It's given me a chance to discuss specific topics with these folks each month. Certainly gives us a chance to chat about real life situations that we're dealing with at our company, or challenges or headwinds that others or myself, are facing. And the ability, I think, to get feedback from others within similar roles or positions about how they're able to manage through those situations has helped me manage through similar situations. So the group's been great. I'm really looking forward to these last 5.5 months of 2023 on the group. I'll get to be together with everyone in September in person, so that's always great. So if there's anyone listening to this who is considering joining the NPTA Emerging Leaders Group, I would definitely recommend it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear, and glad that it's been a good group of people to have that shoulder to lean on and kind of grow through it together and share perspectives and experiences and kind of connect with what's going on out there. So happy to hear that. Yes. And okay, so as we close out, wrapping up with just this final question, I guess considering the current state of the industry and market, what trends or challenges do emerging leaders need to be aware of?
Oh man, well, I mentioned that the industry and the market was a roller coaster, and right now it definitely is. So trends or challenges, trends definitely. I think everyone knows there's a lot of inventory that's left from 2022. Last year was a record year in our industry for a lot of paper mills, a lot of paper distributors, a lot of printers. So there was a lot of paper printed last year. There was a lot of demand. There's a lot of things that caused that that I won't necessarily get into, but I think there's just still a lot of inventory sitting around at both paper merchants and printers, and they've been spending the first 6 months of the year trying to work through their inventory. It's required flexibility for sure. Someone who was printing on a 60-pound uncoated sheet before may have changed it to a different basis weight because they happened to have that on their floor and they wanted to use current inventory before buying new paper. They also don't want to devalue their inventory in any way. So trends, definitely the inventory being worked off. The other thing I'd say is printers should be getting into more regular buying patterns, I would say, starting in the second half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Of course, I say that, but a lot of that depends on demand and the economy. So there's always variables, but demand has tapered. A lot of economists have been predicting a recession, and but a lot of them are saying it's not going to be nearly as bad as they originally thought. So I'm hopeful that demand will pick up going into the second half of the year, and certainly 2024. Some of the challenges, that I think your part of the question was, what challenges do emerging leaders need to be aware of? It's a demand market. It's a demand industry. So, everybody knows there's a decline in paper, but managing that, and there's always going to be a need for it. So just we just need to, hope that the demand picks back up. I mentioned the economy is a question mark. And then, capacity changes is something that people need to be aware of. Our mill is going to shut down machines. Are they going to transition machines from white to brown? We've seen a lot more packaging growth, corrugated, stuff like that. Obviously, Amazon is kind of the elephant in the room in terms of packaging growth. But there's there's a lot of trends, there's a lot of challenges. But I think, like I mentioned before, being on the Emerging Leaders Committee, I have the luxury and benefit of being able to talk about a lot of these with my colleagues and coworkers in some cases. So we're able to talk through them and bounce ideas off each other and kind of lean on each other through the time. So